educational researcher, motivational speaker, and now author. Dr. Katsia Cadeau has taken her ambitions to new heights. Her passion for education policy and leadership has provided her with an extraordinary talent and insight on the rights of women in leadership. Dr. Cadeau is currently a professor and director of education with St. Thomas University in Miami, Florida. She is certified by the Florida Department of Education in Early Childhood, Elementary Education, ESOL, ESE, Reading, and Educational Leadership at all levels. Katsia has presented her research at numerous national education associations and also published several peer-reviewed articles known with quantitative and qualitative. To name a few, in 2015, Technology Leader Initiative Developing Tomorrow's STEM Achievers was published in the International Journal of Education and Social Science, which also opened up grant opportunities for STEM. In 2019, her research on the topic of organizational trustworthiness, perception of students, faculty, and staff within a university was published in the Research on Higher Education Journal with Cabo Publishing. She also presented at the Southern Regional Association for Educators Conference on a collaboration among a South Florida university and local school districts to improve teacher retention, which was later published in 2020. The issue was a qualitative case study. Dr. Cadeau has launched a teacher certification program, which has helped retain teachers in the classroom and is the current advisor for the founder of, is the founder of the Future Teachers of America at St. Thomas University. For 10 years, Dr. Cadeau has been a servant leader and tutoring director at the Lively Stone Church in Miami, which educates students in inner city teachings, English as a second language. As a community leader, Dr. Cadeau has coordinated food giveaways for the homeless, orchestrated trips to women's shelter, providing support and feminine needs. In addition, she works with the school board member, Vice Chair Dr. Steve Gallen III, as a community engagement specialist in North Miami. On a personal note, she is the proud mother of her teenage son, Moses, who is also a freshman in college. Please help me welcome Dr. Katsia Cadeau, now co-author of the book, Women Breathe Again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to really thank you, Dr. Mumford, for inviting me here, and Dr. Zena McNeil, who isn't here with us, but I thank her, and also the Antioch family for opening your doors and allowing me to come here. Most importantly, I want to thank my friends and family for coming to support me, and God above, who has helped me throughout this journey. One of my favorite authors, Maya Angelou, she said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story." That sits with me because for so many years, my mother has been forcing me and saying, "When are you going to write? You're so smart. You're my smartest child. I need you to write something." And I said, "I will, Mom, I will." And I'll go to work and I write about, as she was saying, qualitative, quantitative. And I keep my head in the book. You know, I'm always reading. But I had a story within me that needed to be birthed. And I was just holding it in. So this evening, I'm grateful to God for the opportunity. You know, He's granted me to share my story. And although I'm just a co-author, that's just the beginning, because I've written several research. So this was like, I don't know, I took a step, you know, my baby step. It's my first step in regards to writing a book. It was just the beginning. And I hope my story will uplift you and give you hope, because the title of my chapter is Hope. And the title of the book is Women Breathe Again. You know, as a professor and as a researcher, I believe in counseling. So, and I know my counselor used to tell me, you guys could do it with me. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out. Again, breathe again. Although I'm a lifelong educator, a college professor, researcher, those titles don't mean anything if I can't help my fellow man, and if I cannot pour out into someone else, if I cannot empower someone in need. And I believe my story will make a difference to someone's life. I really do. And sometimes I know some people say, well, you have not been through anything. You're just a preacher's kid. You've had everything easy. But God had to put me through something so I can have a story to share. There are many young girls that I was able to empower. There are many young girls that are broken inside, and they're filled with sadness, and then they grow up to become bitter women. And there are women who are always trying to be strong, or they have low self-esteem, and then they grow up to be women that are overwhelmed with the weight of the world on their shoulder. So while writing this chapter, I went through a process that allowed me to breathe and also let go some things that I didn't even know existed within me. Again, as I said earlier, I know the importance of counseling, because counseling helps when you go through a form of trauma. And as you can see, it says women that went through trauma or some kind of hardship. It helps. So I did go through to therapy after losing my dad, who was an apostle who built several churches in New York, Miami, Homestead, especially in the Haitian community. When he passed away, it pained me, because he was the only dad that I knew. Not only that, it affected our church. We almost lost everything. And I felt a sadness within me, and I didn't become depressed. I developed an anxiety spirit because I wanted to be in control. And you know, whenever you try to be in control of things, God said, no, I'm in control. This is your story. This is a process that you're going through. You have to go through something. And I went to counseling. I also went to counseling after my divorce. There's my son right here after divorcing his father. I lost all my hair. I was so stressed. Then I went through another divorce. And I felt ashamed, because my father married his ministry for 40 years, he married so many young ladies, and none of them went through divorce. Those families stayed together. And then his oldest child, Dr. Cadeau, divorce number 1, divorce number 2. I felt embarrassed. I went to counseling, but it took more than just counseling. It took that relationship with God, and it took God putting people in my path to help me. And then after I wrote the chapter, Hope, I decided to read it to my mother. There's my mother, please give her a round of applause, Esther. While reading the chapter to her, I reached to the portion about my divorce to my son's father, which occurred 19 years ago, because you see, he's in college. I began to cry like a baby, uncontrollable. I couldn't stop. Every time I wanted to get to the next sentence, I couldn't. I just kept on crying, kept on crying. I really thought I was healed because I went to counseling. All the hurt and the pain resurfaced. I felt like a child that needed her mother. And it's just I was letting it go, and she was there. She felt my pain because she went through a divorce herself with my biological father. My stepdad raised me. Now I'm going to go back with writing, my professor side. According to research, journaling and writing about your life is a form of therapy. And I didn't know that. See, even though I'm a professor, I don't know everything. I did not know that. So 17 women took that journey together by putting their story in this book. Women Breathe Again. The visionary behind it was Apostle Margaret Reed. I don't know if she's here, but she was a visionary. She encouraged me to write every time she would call me, and as you can see, she said that Dr. Mumford mentioned that I had this research published, 2019, that research, so I was doing a lot. Apostle Reed kept calling me, write it. I'm like, I don't know what to do, I don't know. She's like, just start writing. And I started writing. So as I was writing, it was coming out. The words, I just couldn't stop writing. I think I went over, she told me I had 1,500 words, I went way over. She had to tell me, oh, you need to cut down, Doc. I don't know if my sister's here. Is she here? Dr. Ruth, she wrote chapter 1, and trust me, be ready for the ride of your life with her chapter. So those stories in the book, they range from women who endured abusive relationships, sexual abuse, physical illness, mental illness, loss of place of employment, incest. That chapter, touched me. I had to put it down. I couldn't continue reading and then get it back. A 9-year-old, a teenager wrote that chapter. She's 19. And she said her father took her innocence, her biological father. But God helped her. She has forgiven him. And infidelity, natural disaster, and they were victims. But with their faith in God, they now have a voice. I have a voice that there is a hope. They have a voice of forgiveness, being victorious. They have love in their hearts, resilient, success, peace, trust, transformation, and most importantly, hope. I thank God for my success, even those challenges that I've endured, because those challenges have made me stronger and made me who I am today. In the book of Romans 8, verse 28, it says, and we know that all things, it doesn't say some things or one thing, it says all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to what? His purpose, not your purpose. His purpose is, it's going to become your purpose anyway. You want to be able to be working according to God's purpose, your vocation, what he's called you to do. Most people just want to be in the result, but not the process. You see, I wanted to be in the result. I'm always in control. I want everything to go right. But you have to go through the process. You have to go through something to have a testimony. You have to go through the test. Jesus died on the cross. And it's in the process where you realize, where God realized, if you deserve that reward or to be in that, the result. It's in that process. So patient, going through the process is important. In order to be pure as gold, you must go through what? Fire. The longer the gold stays in the fire, the more valuable it becomes. So are you working according to God's purpose in your life this evening? At one point, I don't think I was totally. I was just going through the motion. But God has given me a voice where I am working according to his purpose. In order to have reached that purpose, you must persevere. in order to reach it. In Romans 5, verse 3, it says that we also glory in our suffering. You're like, suffering? Why do I have to go through that, God? Why? Because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. What type of person are you? Character of integrity, a woman of faith, woman of integrity, a woman. And then it says character produces hope. Let hope be your guide. I'm going to read an excerpt from my chapter. I don't have a whole chapter to read. I mean, I do have a whole chapter to read, but I can't read it. I'm just going to read an excerpt. Oh, I'm sorry. Affection, attention, nurturing felt like they were not in the cards for me as a baby. However, my grandmother did her best to provide all the motherly love I was missing. It was 1972 when my mother left me in the care of my grandmother as she escaped to New York to get away from my abusive father. That was the beginning of my journey, filled with adversities, yet hope illuminated my destiny. If you have someone next to you, tell them hope illuminates my destiny. Amen. As a professor, I'm always researching. So I went into it a little deeper. I said, what does hope mean? The Bible dictionary says hope means to trust in, to wait for, look for, desire something or someone, or to expect something beneficial in the future. The Old Testament, there are several Hebrew verbs that may in certain contexts be translated. To hope in English. One of them, it's Q-A-W-A. Hua, may denote hope in the sense of trust. You see where I'm getting at? Hope, trust. As when Jeremiah addresses God, our hope is in you. He also uses a noun formed from the root qua to teach that the Lord is the hope of Israel, which means that Israel's God is worthy of trust. Another noun from the same root, toqua, is often translated hope, meaning trust. Hope in the Old Testament means what? Trust. Then the verb qua is parallel to bata, to trust in Psalm 24. As hope is connected with patience and endurance in the Old Testament. And that's what we have to have, patience. Sometimes we want everything so fast because this new generation, it's a microwave generation. We want everything, we want it our way. Like, was it Burger King? You can't have it your way. God is not with that. He wants it his way. I was asking God, I'm like, why, God? Why me? Why do I have to go through this divorce? Why me? Well, why not? Why not you? My mom used to sing this song that she loved to sing. I don't know if it's a hymn, but it's very old. It says, what is your will for me? What would you have me be? Lord, I'm in your hands. I pray I'm in your plans. What is your will for me? You got to ask God, what is his will for you? While you're going through it, you got to trust him. In the New Testament, trials lead to hope. And hope is to be steadfast. When we hope for something, we wait for it through patience. And that's what I was missing, patience. And when you don't have that, it's going to lead to sickness, anxiety, high blood pressure, you name it. And in Hebrew 11, verse 1, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. You're not going to see it because it's God that's doing the work. Let him do it. He's in control. So I encourage everyone to let hope be your guide. Let it illuminate your destiny. Persevere. Become women or individual with character that God wants to use and a person of integrity. I would like to end with a story that I've heard. And it's about a pilot and a snake. You all know the character of a snake. If it bites you, especially the poisonous one, and also it can strangle you too. There was this young pilot. He said, let me get on my plane. And he was flying. He got on the plane and he was flying up. And while he was flying his plane, he looked beside him, right on the co-pilot seat. There was a snake. So he was startled. He said, oh my God, there's a snake. What am I supposed to do? You know, when we're afraid, you know, we react. So he said, let me radio in the air traffic controller. And he called in, hello. I have a problem here. There's a snake right next to me. What should I do? The air traffic controller said, okay, I need you to calm down. You know that it is a scientific fact that high altitudes are known for being colder because snakes do not generate their own heat. Cold temperatures can make them sluggish and they will eventually die. So just calm down. What I want you to do is fly higher. And he's like, fly higher? Okay, keep going. Higher altitude, fly higher. And he kept flying higher. He said, and the air traffic controller said, how is the snake now? It's very sluggish. Keep on flying higher. Keep on going higher. And as he went higher, eventually the snake died. When there's a snake that comes into your life, I don't know who the snake is. It can be somebody. It could even be you. Because sometimes you let yourself get in the way. You can have some type of stronghold, bad habits. When a snake comes into your life, call on Jesus, the air traffic controller. When you feel depressed, fly higher. When you feel anxiety, fly higher in worship. When you feel down and out, fly higher in prayer. When you have friends and spouse problem, divorce, co-worker that turns against you, you know, God is the best person that could, don't ever try to revenge because God is better in doing that. You know, all you got to do is what? Fly higher. What do you have to do?
Fly higher.
Fly higher in prayer. Fly higher in the word. Fly higher in worship. Fly to an altitude where the snake cannot breathe. But you shall live another day to tell your story and breathe again. So I'm here to encourage you and tell you that this battle, it's not yours, it's God. Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against spirits of darkness of the world. So all you got to do when that snake comes next to you, do not be afraid because God got you. Fly higher.